Hey guys, Lou here from LT's Custom Woodworks. Welcome to the shop. Another day, another dollar. Today we're starting back on the kitchen table / island build. This is episode 4. If you haven't seen 3, 2, or 1, it will be in the description below. Today we're going to start building the wine rack that's going in this right hand corner. There's going to be a door here, and then 2 back legs. This is left open. And then we're going to be sanding it down and getting ready for a white lacquered finish. So I'm going to get started on this wine rack on this bottom piece here. Okay, so what I've done is I'm starting on cutting the pieces for the wine rack. And I lost footage of getting these measurements here, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to bring you up real close, so you can see what's going on in here. So what I did was I measured from this corner to this corner and I cut that piece, and what I did was I mitered a 45 on each side. So if you look in the center of that, there's a 45 this way and a 45 this way. And I did it to both ends. The typical number I use is 4 inches. That's a standard wine bottle square piece that it fits nice and comfortable. So I measured 4 inches from here, from this corner back this way. I made a mark. I did the same thing on this side, 4 inches back, and made a mark. Then I got this measurement here, and I put a 45 on the one side only, as you can see there. And I did it to both ends. Then I measured another 4 inches back this way and got this end as well. Same follows this way, and then I did it on the other side. I took these all out. I made another one this way, and I just copied the same pieces. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure halfway down and draw a line. And I'm going to do that to both sides of these pieces. So this piece, all these pieces, I'm going to draw it in half, and then they're going to sandwich through together like that. And that's what's going to keep everything together and even. So I'm going to start drawing out that line now. So what's going to happen is when I make my marks here, I'm going to cut up to this line only. So what I did was I taped these all together. You can see where I made my marks, and I ended up taping all the one side together. I left the 2 end ones for last because it's kind of hard to have one on each end that small. So I'll run this through the table saw, and I'm cutting up to these marks. Now these are 4 inches apart. So I raise my blade as high as I can go. The reason why for doing that is because if you have the blade too low, you're going to get a real long cut on the back side past that line. So you want to try to eliminate that as much as possible. So I'm going to start at the far end. I'm going to line up my blade. I might have to tap it over a hairline on each cut to get that nice tight fit. And then I'll just use this piece to just test that fit. You don't want it too tight, but you also don't want it too loose. I'll bring my sled over. And this is something that you just take your time with. Okay, now with all the pieces cut, let's see how everything's gonna fit properly here. I might have to do some trims. It is hard to tell, but we will see. Push this into place. Just tilt this over to this corner here. Now again, I might have to, because once the finish goes on, it's going to be a little tight. And that is looking sexy. And that will get a white lacquered finish there. Now that this is said and done, for now we're going to get started on the shaker style doors, and they're going to be inset. And there's going to be this door here and this door here, and then a trim at the top, and then the legs on the other half. So we're going to get started on these doors. I don't have any 3/4 inch stock material in here that I can use for the rails and styles for the doors. These are shaker style doors that I'm doing, so I'm going to chop up some 2x6 and I'll cut them down and mill them down to the 3/4 that I need. So I'm going to start off with just, there's two doors, this one's open, so the length that I need, and I'm going to cut it 2 inches bigger. It gives me some play room for cutting it to the size that I need afterwards. So I'm going to cut these 17 inches long. I need 1, 2, 3, and 4 that are 17 inches long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip this 2x6. What I need is 3/4 of an inch, but I'm going to rip it at 7/8. That way I can, when I sand, I can take that 1/8 of an inch off. Just gives me, allows me some room to play with. So I'm going to cut it down to 7/8. And I will make 2 passes. I'm obviously not going to run the full length of the blade. Now that I have these cut, I'm going to cut them down to, 2 1/4 inches in width. Now I like to use playing cards to figure out my spacing when you're insetting a door. So I like to use anywhere from 5 to 7 cards. So I'll put 7 cards on the bottom. On one side, I'll put 7 on the other side, and then we'll just check it. just to see if I like that spacing or not. And to me, that is a perfect spacing. So what I'll do is I'm going to stack 7 for the bottom, 7 for the top, so it's a total of 14 cards. And then I'm going to measure on top of the cards to underneath that shelf, which is 15 1/4. And I'm going to cut these to that 15 1/4. I will double check all just to make sure that we are all good. 15 1/4. And that is bingo bango. So I'm going to cut these to 15 1/4. Okay, so now I'm going to start to cut for my rails. Now you got to keep in mind that your rails are going to have a tenon on each side, and I usually cut them 3/8 on each side, so a total of 3/4 of an inch. So the way I do it is I'm going to take my 14 cards, 7 on each side, I'm going to stack it up against. I'm going to measure from corner to corner. And that measurement is 15 5/8. You're going to take 15 5/8 minus 2 1/4 on this side, minus 2 1/4 on this side, and then you're going to add 3/8 on this side and 3/8 on this side. And that is going to be the length that you need, and I'll cut all 4 of these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my rails, and on each end I'm going to mark 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to draw a line across. That's the tenon that I'm going to be cutting out. And I'm going to mark them on both ends. Okay, so what I did here is when I marked my 3/8 where the tenon's going, the blade, I'm going to raise it until it hits the top of this bottom lip here. So I'm going to find the highest point of the blade, and that is going to hit the top of that. Now you can even lower it just a touch and readjust afterwards. And then lock that blade in place. And I think that's the cat's meow right there. Now I'm going to put a piece of scrap and clamp it to my sled. I'm going to bring this fence in, and I'm going to line this line, this 3/8 line here, at the end of this blade. And then I'm going to lock my fence in. Okay, so we're doing our glue up for our doors. Now for the panel, I don't glue into place. The sheer fact is that it needs a little bit of play for moisture, swelling, so on and so forth. So I never glue in the panel. Only the tenons are the only ones I glue in. So and that is it. I'll let this sit overnight and then we'll go from there. Now that I've sanded the doors down, I'm going to use my Kreg jig to drill for my hinges. So I'm going to use this jig here and I'm going to clamp her down. If you don't have one of these, I suggest you get one. It is absolutely fabulous to have one of these. It makes things so much easier. So much easier. I'll drive my screws in place. Once I know everything's going to fit properly, I'll put the handles on. I'll do whatever patching I need to do, the pinholes from the nailer. I've made my marks 1 inch and 7/8 in, and then I just centered this to the hinge that's on the door. Here I'm using a door magnet to, I like to use these on the doors because they're nice. So I measured center. This is for my drawer pull. I measured center from here. This is 2 1/4 inches. So I measured 1 inch and 1/8, and then down to the center, to the bottom of this, so it's 2 1/4 inches. And I'll drill that pile, I'll drill a hole through and then screw this into place. So I'm going to cut for the legs, and I'm cutting this 4 inches wide, and then I'm going to put a 45 miter on one side and another 45 on the other side. And I will cut 4 pieces of these for each leg. I'm going to glue and pin these in place. I'll let it sit for a couple hours and then cut them down to size. These are longer than what I need, and I did that purposely, just so it gives me enough room to adjust later, cut the size, so on and so forth. So I'll run a bead of glue evenly. And I'm just going to spread it out with my finger. So what I'm going to do on the inside of these legs, I'm going to measure 1 inch from the outside in, and that's where my piece is going to stop, so it has that 1 inch reveal on this side. I'm not going to put it at the very end, I'll put it offset a little bit. So I'm going to mark 1 inch. I'll mark 1 inch. So I got a 1 inch strip here. I'll rest it up against. I will use my board. I will bring it down even on the bottom here and screw it in with 1¼ inch screws. One down, one more to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a piece for the middle for a support. So I'm going to measure from this end to this end. And I have 31 3/8. And then I will do the same thing to the other side. Now that I got the top secured in place, I'm going to put a molding right underneath this top, and I'm going to do the front and the 2 sides. The molding, I'm just going to make it. I'm going to put a router. I'll find a design on one of my bits there that I can router a piece of 1x6 or a 2x6, whatever, either way, and then I'm going to cut it to about 1/4 inch thickness, and then I will pin it in place. Now the next step, basically, is I'm just going to go around and finger patch all these pinholes with some wood filler. Like that. Okay, so I stripped all the hardware off the doors, all the hinges, everything that I needed to take off. I'm going to get ready to, I sanded everything, and I'm going to get ready to put a primer coat on. That will sit for about a couple hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Then I will apply a sand and sealer. Then I will sand that with a 220 about 20 minutes to a half an hour later. So we're going to get started on getting this primed. Okay, now that the sealer is on, and I waited about a half an hour before I started to sand it. I sanded it all down, it's all nice and smooth. Now I'm going to apply 3 coats of pre-cat lacquer white, and I will put a coat every 15 minutes apart. So now that everything is dry, the lacquer is dry, I put 3 coats. That was yesterday. Today I'm going to start to assemble the doors. Wine rack slid in, put all the handles back on the doors, get the top put on, make sure everything's all good to go, and then it's being delivered tomorrow. One more door to go. We are down to our last door here with the handle. And then from here we are going to start to install the top, just to make sure that everything lines up, everything's good, and we are ready to rock and roll. Some of you guys are probably thinking, why don't I drill the hole a little bit bigger for the pull, the door pull? I like it where I can take the screw and screw it in, and the reason why is because when I'll show you in a minute here on what I mean. If your handle ever comes loose, you have to go find a screwdriver to tighten it up. This way, you can just tighten it by hand, because that is permanently screwed in there. It's threads in on the inside of this. So it works out better that way. I find it, but that's me. And that is all complete or ready to be delivered. The top is not all fully screwed down. There is a couple more screws I can put all the way around, but I will do that once I take it apart and deliver it. It is a bit dusty. I definitely have to clean it, and I will do that before I send it out. That is a wrap. This is all ready to go. I'm going to dismantle it, clean it all up, and have it delivered tomorrow and installed in the kitchen. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will see you guys on the next vid. Thanks for watching.